Hey, how's it going? My name is Adrian Reddix, and this is part 2 of our Mystery Egg Bundle from Fanatical. If you missed part 1, we'll put it in the description below and in a card up here. Go back and watch that so you can get caught up on this video. So in that video, we did the first 5 in a 10-game mystery bundle. So now we're doing the last 5. So the 6th game in this bundle is a game called Fire. Fire is a game, it's a puzzle game. And it starts off, you are this caveman who is, first of all, there's no words in the game. There's no instructions in the game. So it's an intuitive puzzle game. So you have to go from, let's say the first level. It starts off that you are a caveman named Ung, or Ugg. I'm not sure how you say the name. And you're in charge of watching the fire. You fall asleep and the fire goes out. So now you're on a journey to find the fire for your village. First puzzle is okay. It's not a hard puzzle. After you finish half the puzzle, you get an apple. And you eat the apple and you go in this psychedelic trance like you're inebriated. You find out that you have a bunch of fireflies that you have to collect each level, and they fly off through the map, and then you begin that journey. It's a really fun game. It's a puzzle game, and it's not an easy game. If you're experienced with puzzle games or with puzzles, or you like to think, this is a game for you. Like the second level, they have a dragon, and the way you interact with things, and you have to watch this game. You have to be very mindful of clues and little interactions, because the littlest thing makes the difference. If you move one way, or if you move a tile another way, or if let's say the second level, the dinosaur's mouth is open, it's a game where if you think you're a good puzzle player, it'll challenge you. And not having words and not having instructions makes this a more difficult game. You won't have the luxury of, unless you go to YouTube and look for a tutorial. That's the only way, because the game isn't giving anything up. You get little clues along the way, but that's it. So the Steam rating for this game is 9 out of 10. I agree with it. The price is $9.99. I'm gonna give you a price breakdown at the end and just give you my thoughts of the bundle as a whole. The second game, or the 7th game in the bundle, is called Dead Synchronicity. Tomorrow Comes Today. This game is dark. It is dark. You are a man named Michael. Before we go into what the game is, so this game is a point and click game. One of my favorite games of all time, called The Longest Journey. It was made in like the late 90s. It's also a point and click game. It's a game where you click on different things in the environment and you interact with them, or you pick them up, or you use them on something else. It's a classic point and click game. But because its gameplay is so simplistic, the story is heartbreaking. Like a lot of these games, I only played the first 30, 40 minutes just to get a first impression. This game was rough the whole way. It's a dark noir game. It's a great story, but it's so sad. So you play this man named Michael, who's been in this coma for an untold amount of time. This family found him next to an airport, brought him in, took care of him. Some big event happened in this time. It's post-apocalyptic. Something big happened where people's memories started getting wiped out. The world started to become a dystopian place. You have to find your way through this new world. But it seems like every time you advance to a new stage, you get this staticky image of the place not being there. Like you're in a place, you get the static image, there's nothing there, or it's even more in ruin. So you go through these different environments, meeting people. It's not a game for kids. There's some violence in it. And then you meet this lady named Rose. And Rose is a person who has an intellectual disability, who is forced to work as a sex worker, is the best way I can put this. When I tell you this game is dark, it's dark. She seems to know Michael, but as soon as when she's getting close to revealing what she knows about Michael, her handlers tell her to get back in the van and that Michael has to pay to see her. I didn't get as far into the game to resolve that issue, if she knew anything or not. I do believe the simplicity of the game makes the story pop even more, because you don't have to worry about dodging and ducking and diving and shooting at somebody. It's all about just interacting with the world and coming out on the other end. I only played 40 minutes of the game and I liked it, but it's definitely a game not for anybody who is sensitive to mature, grimy stories. Yeah, it's rough. On Steam, their Synchronicity earns a 9 out of 10. I think that's the right rating for this game, and it also is $9.99. The next game, it's gonna be another Guilty Gear game. It's Guilty Gear 2 Overture. It's a very different game than the game we covered in the first video, which was a 2D fighter game. The only thing they share is characters, and the characters are dressed different, they look different. First of all, instead of being a 2D game, it's a 3D game. And unlike Guilty Gear Asuka, this game actually gave you a tutorial on how to play it. And you actually got 2 tutorials. The first one was a fighting tutorial, and you're going through just, the motions of like any game like that. This game reminds me of Dynasty Warriors for DS. It seems like if, I know I make these comparisons, but if Dynasty Warriors and a bootleg Final Fantasy came together, became something, is what this game seemed like it was trying to be. The action is really good. I mean, it's a fighting game. It's a 3D fighting game. You go through this tutorial how to fight, which I said before, and then you go to another tutorial on how the gameplay is going to be. You play a guy named Soul Bad Guy, which was the guy I played in the playthrough in the first Guilty Gear Asuka. And you play this other guy named Sin. The goal is you have these things called ghosts. And ghosts are like these central systems that pump out things called capture units, which it's a little convoluted, the gameplay. It is. You have these things called capture units that heal your forces, but they're weak. Then you have these things called servants / soldiers who fight you to protect the ghosts. But if you defeat all those and your capture units come in, they can convert that ghost to your side. Yeah, it's convoluted. I know. It seems to be a better game than Guilty Gear Asuka. 1, they tell you how to play. 2, the action seems to be more intuitive. There's a lot more. It's definitely a gamepad type of game. There's definitely a lot of extra buttons that you have to press, especially on this Steam controller that I have. It's a lot of these back buttons that you have to press. They're very, almost look dirty. But it's a lot of, like, say you have to press one of these buttons, and then it's a lot of combinations with this game that work to your advantage. The gameplay is awesome. The zooming in and focusing in on your attacker, on the enemy, and coming back out. And once you get the hang of it, it's actually a pretty fun game. Also, from what I played, after you defeat the big master ghost, the soldiers want to run away. And then you go into another gameplay where you're running super fast and you slide, and then you got to catch these soldiers. I had the most fun doing that slide, and I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I was slamming against the wall. It was fun. I like that aspect of the game that I got to. So as far as the Steam rating, it's 6 out of 10. I think I would give it maybe 5.5 out of 10. That one part of the gameplay is good, but the story, from what I played, was disconnected. It didn't really make any sense. The gameplay was good, but if you didn't practice and get used to it, combinations, then the gameplay at points, as far as battling, got a little repetitive. It's a average game. Next game is Space Pilgrim Academy Year 3. It's another Space Pilgrim game. We had a Space Pilgrim game in the first half. Unlike that game, you know, these are all RPG Maker games. The story grabbed me on this one. Like I said in the other one, if these RPG Maker games are very similar. If you don't have a good story to grab me in that first 3 to 4 minutes, then I'm like, meh, I don't care. But this one, you started off a younger Space Pilgrim, if that's what they're called. What happens is you're on, it isn't revealed until a little bit later that you're on a simulator for training. And you make a decision. I made a decision to disable the engines and blew up the enemy spacecraft. So when they were done with the simulation, they got graded on it, yada yada. But just like all these other RPG Maker games, the details and the greatness of the game or the weakness of the game is always in the story. They started off with a pretty good story. Your person, Margaret Dale, she goes to find her friend Diane. Diane, she does some snooping around in her room because they're roommates, and gets on the computer. She finds out that she's gonna go meet her dad at the airport. Margaret heads over to the airport, and once you get in the airport, you got some puzzles you have to figure out. That part was fun. I got to a point where I was stuck, and I did the same thing I do with all these RPG Maker games. I go and interact with every single thing until something significant happened. Did that, I got to the next part of the level. To me, this Space Pilgrim game was a lot better than the first one that we played in the last video. On Steam, this game got an 8 out of 10. I happen to agree with them. I think that's a good rating, and it comes in at $1.99 for this game. So our last game, the 10th game of the bundle, the 5th game of this video, it's Guilty Gear X2 Reload. Yeah, so we're gonna call this the Guilty Gear Bundle, because we got 3 Guilty Gear games, 2 Space Pilgrim games. So yeah, this is the Guilty Gear Bundle. Guilty Gear X2 Reload is what Guilty Gear Isuka from last video was trying to be. If you remember, I told you that the controls were unfamiliar. It had an unskippable entrance. It was not a good game. Everything that I thought Guilty Gear Isuka should have been, X2 Reloaded was. Again, it's different from the Guilty Gear we just talked about, Overture, because we're going back to the 2D fighting. The controls seem familiar. You can tell this game was made for the arcade, and it was ported over by how you select people, the countdown after you lose, and just the gameplay. This was a arcade game that was ported to PC and console. You can just tell that. The game felt good. I could turn my person. At the other one where I was just facing the same direction over and over again, I could actually turn back and fight and jump. It was a very fun game. You had this mode called MOM mode, and it was different. It was, you had to come with it because I guess it was some type of hard mode. I guess I should have looked up what MOM mode is. I'll put what MOM mode is right here. The game was fantastic. It was a 2D fighter from what I remember 2D fighters were when I was growing up. We would go to the arcade and put our quarter on the console and just we were up next, and we would just play for hours on arcade games. I miss having an arcade console. If I could have an arcade, I would. I just like arcades that much. This game received a 9 out of 10 on Steam. I think that's a very accurate rating, and price is $9.99. So let's do a breakdown of price. For these 5 games, let's pull up my calculator. $9.99 plus $9.99 plus $19.99 plus $1.99 plus $9.99. So for these 5 games, it's going to be $51.95. So if we take the total from the first half, which is $37.45, so we got $51.95 for these 5 games, plus the $37.45 from the 5 games before, so we have a value of $89.40 for a $6.99 bundle. But that's not the true story. The true value comes with the games I actually would play again. So let's go through our list and see what I would play again and what I wouldn't, and get the true value for myself. Because, I mean, $89.40 is a great value for only spending $7, well, $6.99 plus tax. Our first game, Space Pilgrim. I don't think I would play that game again. Shooting Stars, I liked. Inferno Climber, wouldn't play that again. Guilty Gear Isuka, wouldn't play that again. Tales from Space, Mutant Blobs Attack, love that game. Fire, great game. Dead Synchronicity, great game. I mean, it was depressing, but it was a good game. Guilty Gear Overture. I'm gonna say, yeah, I would play it again. I don't know if it would be something I would go back to regularly, but it wasn't a horrible game. Space Pilgrim Academy, Year 3, I would play that game. Great story. And Guilty Gear X2 Reload, definitely would play that game. So let's do another calculation. Let's calculate what my true value is. So we got 49 cents plus $9.99 plus $9.99 plus $9.99 plus $19.99 plus $1.99 plus $9.99, and that gives us $62.43. So to me, it's a $62.43 value. I got a great deal for $6.99. Hopefully when they drop something else, we will cover that. I say we, it's just me. It's an I thing. I'll cover that in a future video. I had fun doing this type of video. If you like this type of video, hey, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, give me a thumbs down too. Tell me why you didn't like it. And leave me a comment. Thank you guys for watching today. I appreciate it. Thank you for letting me get out of my comfort zone and try something different. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a good one.